Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and folk of all ages, you know what time it is. It is July, and we're pushing things this month because we have a third honored day, and it's coming up real quick. So, let's not beat around the bush and let's get right down to it. As I alluded to, we have a third special day this month. Started last year, first honored in 2023. We have a day of remembrance on July 4th for Sveinbjörn Beinteinsson. And we follow that up on July 9th with a day of remembrance for Alexander Rud Mills. And on July 20th, we have Sigrblót. Well, everybody, let's get down to it and learn a little bit about the days of remembrance, holy days, holidays, special days, and just all around good times of our folk. Alright, so July 4th, 2024 is going to be the day of remembrance for Sveinbjörn Beinteinsson. Sveinbjörn Beinteinsson was born July 4th, 1924, and lived as a sheep farmer in Borgafjörður, a fjord in the west of Iceland. Sveinbjörn was an early practitioner and leader of modern Asatru. Sveinbjörn and fellow Asatru founded the Asatru Fellowship, on the first day of summer in 1972. April 18th, and Sveinbjörn was named Asatru. Asatru Sveinbjörn then led the push for the Asatru Fellowship to be recognized by the Icelandic government. When Asatru Sveinbjörn collected the appropriate paperwork from the Minister of the Icelandic Ministry of Justice and Ecclesiastical Affairs, he received vague answers from the minister, who did not take him seriously. When Asatru Sveinbjörn was exiting the ministry building, a thunderbolt caused a major power outage in Reykjavik, which left the ministry building and the minister in the dark. Hail, Thor! After submitting the required paperwork, Asatru Sveinbjörn still faced opposition. The strongest opposition came from the bishop of the Evangelical Lutheran Church of Iceland, the head of the state of the Church of Iceland. The bishop took the position that the polytheistic religious organizations founded in Iceland would therefore not be protected by the Icelandic constitution. The bishop also criticized Asatru Sveinbjörn and the Asatru Fellowship for not naming a head of the religion, for not having a set written doctrine, and for not having a house of worship. There were also critics in Iceland who agreed with the bishop that polytheism was illegal in Iceland, and that Christ is enough, though he was not enough for Hitler, Stalin, or their followers. However, Asatru Sveinbjörn's arguments prevailed, and in May of 1973, the Asatru Fellowship was recognized as a church by the government, and with this was given legal standing to perform weddings, was given a share in church taxes. In August of the same year, Asatru Sveinbjörn led the first legal public Sigrblót since the year 1000, when the Althing had forbidden blot and declared Iceland a Christian nation. Asatru Sveinbjörn went on to lead the Asatru Fellowship for 20 more years, until he returned to his ancestors during Yuletide of 1993. Sveinbjörn was also a published poet of several books of Riemann, Icelandic rhymes. He had recorded verses of his own and of the poetic Edda Havamor, Völuspá, and Sigrfamor. In its early days, the Asatru Fellowship was notably folkish and took ethical positions consistent with Asatru. For example, in 1975, the Asatru Fellowship opposed abortion on the basis that the movement to legalize abortion is traced to international movements opposed to the Nordic nations and in particular to the Nordic race. The Asatru Fellowship has unfortunately failed to maintain the ideals of Asatru that the Asatru Folk Assembly continues to promote today. But as Herigathi Sveinbjörn Beinteinsson of Asatru Fedagith remains a hero of our folk who heard the call of the Aesir at a time when very few did. Herr Sveinbjörn Beinteinsson. Not too long after, on July 9th, we hold a day of remembrance for Alexander Rud Mills. Alexander Rud Mills was born in Forth, Tasmania, and lived from 1885 to 1964. He was the guiding light for the foundations of Asatru in Australia. In 1933, Rud Mills began writing books about our faith, and in 1936 he founded the Anglican Church of Odin. Mills was able to build a solid Asatru community, but during the turbulent times of the Second World War, Rud Mills was bitterly persecuted by his government, and the community that he built suppressed. With no evidence against him of illegal activity, Alexander Rud Mills was imprisoned. It was nearly a decade before Mills was released, and despite all of his efforts, he was unable to revive his church to its former glory. All was not lost, however. Alexander Rud Mills' many publications and his passion lived on and inspired a new generation. In the 1970s, a group of Odinist students at the University of Melbourne campaigned to have Odinism recognized as a formal religion in Australia, hoping to be able to protect the faith from the same persecution that Mills suffered. It took almost 2 decades, but by the early 90s, Odinism was granted religious status in Australia. Alexander Rud Mills' vision also notably inspired Elsie Christensen, who is a leading voice of Asatru in North America. So, what can we learn from this story? Alexander Rud Mills didn't live to see the culmination of all of his hard work. When he died, Odinism and Asatru were still a repressed faith in his homeland. Even without reward and recognition, he worked until his death to try and revive the ancient folkway. And he did succeed. Could he have ever imagined how far-reaching his influence would have been while he lived? Despite being imprisoned and persecuted for his beliefs, Alexander continued. Even without knowing that his hard work would bear fruit, he continued. He didn't give up in the face of a thankless and dauntless task. He didn't let his ego or his own self-importance stop him from doing what he believed he needed to do. There were no rewards. There were no praises. There was nothing in it for him except the knowledge and the belief that he was doing the right thing for his folk. Take from this story the need to remember that the bigger picture, even when we can't see it, is so much more important than just ourselves. We do what we are doing for our children and for their children, so that when we are gone, they have a foundation strong enough to hold them up and help them build better and stronger. Alexander Rud Mills is the dedicated hero of Thorshof. For more information and a deeper dive into the life and acts of this Australian hero, check out Thorshof.com. We're going to take a brief pause and use Thorshof.com as a nice reminder. All of our Hof districts have their own dedicated websites. Odinshof.org, Thorshof.com, Baldershof and Njordshof.org each. We also have asatruacademy.org and our main website, runestone.org. Make sure to check that one out if you haven't recently. There's going to be lots of links in the description. I've put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears over the last couple months, and we just recently, a few weeks ago, released a brand new runestone.org. It's got a complete overhaul, all kinds of new pretties, and a great calendar. Combines all of the events from every district. You can see them all at once. It's stinking amazing. There's some Saturdays where there's 15, 20 events going on Midgard. Man. Well, go check out our websites, and you get back here to the video. We're going to learn a little bit about Sigrblót. And that's it. July 20th, Sigrblót. Sigrblót literally means victory blot, and was celebrated by our ancestors in the early summer months. On the one hand, our ancestors were celebrating their victory over the harsh winter. Life had won. On the other hand, our ancestors performed blot to ask for victory. With the warm weather and the completion of planting time, the men often turned their minds to the duty of man: war. Practically speaking, summer was the better time to organize new campaigns and to set sail. In our modern times, the vast majority of us are not familiar with war in a personal way. We do, however, all have our struggles. Sigrblót is a time to refocus. It is the time we can use to reorganize our priorities, to figure out the steps we need to take in order to reach our ultimate goals, and to break free from those that we struggle with. One great way to celebrate Sigrblót is to offer a meal or some other items that you spent time making in thanks for the victory of life. Another option is to sacrifice a bladed weapon to the fire. A nice knife, for example. Blade dulled in battle so that it cannot be used against you. This is symbolic, of course. Offer to the fire is a great way to ask our gods for victory during the coming winter. A gift for a gift. You know what? I've got another way you can celebrate Sigrblót. Come on out to Sigrheim, July 19th through the 21st. You're going to have a great time right here in the heart of Tennessee. Second annual Sigrblót. If you haven't been here, it's something amazing. It's going to be hot. There's not a whole lot in the way of utilities. We've got porta potties, plenty of water, and a lot of land to camp on. But Matt's going to be here, Asatru, and we're going to have a great time. Walk on up to the ridge, future home of Tiershoff, hold a great victory blot, and get to know your folk. Coming out to Sigrblót, Sigrheim. I'll see you there. And with that, those are the days of remembrance, holy days, high days, holidays of our people for the month of July. Thank you so much, everybody, for listening in. I'll talk to you next month. And in the meantime, hail the Aesir. Hail the ancestors. Hail the folk. Hail the AFA. Hail Sveinbjörn Beinteinsson. Hail Alexander Rud Mills. And hail Tyr. Good night, everybody. Have a great one.